Hi everyone, my name is Melanie Copeland and I am a tiny house dweller in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm coming to you today on a rainy day to talk to you about living long-term in a tiny house and some information about zoning. So let's get started. When we're designing a tiny house or a custom tiny home, especially to live in it for many years, the designing process is very hard. Most of us are not coming into tiny house living having ever designed a home before. So we're trying to accommodate for all the things that we may think are going to happen, or we're going to move a couple different times. And of course, time is going to cause changes in our life and things that we didn't expect. So trying to design a home like this, it's tough. And I wanted to give you some tips that I've kind of learned along the way that I'm hoping will help with that. So first off, when we start designing a tiny house, you want to take into consideration the biggest, most important things that you need in the home. You're going to need a kitchen sink. You're going to need some stairs maybe. You might want a bathtub instead of a shower. So kind of narrow down your list to the basic functionality of your home and the placement of those items. And then keep the rest simple. Don't try to, add in every cubby for every little thing and, oh, I have to have this and it's got to go right here. And because the reality of it is, living tiny, especially over many years, the functionality of your home is going to change. So for example, we built a 4-foot loft, and our original design would be a great place for my husband to be able to kind of have a man cave and get away from me and have his own guy space or whatever. And because we were concerned about how to be a couple in a tiny house, so we kind of built something to accommodate that. The reality is, it hasn't been used as a man's space. It kind of tends to be more of a flex space in our home. So we watch movies up there. I do wood burning up there. Sometimes we go up there and read or just kind of hang out and relax. It's not any designed specific space. So had I built that and closed it in and made like a man cave, we would have had to tear it all back out. Same with a lot of the custom seating or certain custom designs done in stairs or this or that. As we live in the home, we learn that, hey, this works, or my gosh, I didn't plan for something to have to fit this type of container, and now I have to put this bottle of vinegar over here, or this thing doesn't fit here. We can't always anticipate what products are going to be brought in the home and how they're going to fit in the spaces that we're designing for them. So we want to create functionality in the home, but by keeping it simple, we'll be able to add in the longer that we're in it to make sure that we can account for the things that we really need to account for, which is living in your home. So the other thing is, during the build process, we go through all these designs and what type of wood we need, or what color scheme we want, or window placement. But a lot of the little things kind of get missed, and we don't think about how that's going to work in the long run. So when it comes to outlets or plugs, in traditional building, they're set so many square feet apart. In a tiny house, add more. Don't set them to the traditional, width apart as a home. Add them in more locations throughout the house. You're not going to really struggle by having extra in these spaces, especially if you're trying to do 2 or 3 things in one space and you only have 2 plugs. So please take into consideration adding more outlets throughout your home, especially in your kitchen area or in an area where you think that you might be hooking up a phone and a laptop and maybe a battery charger or just different things like that. So account for that. It's going to be super helpful. Also, if you're an on-grid, off-grid home, or you're planning on being on-grid or off-grid only, please take into account building for both. And what I mean is, we have a Nature's Head composting toilet. But when we built, we didn't know if that toilet was going to work out. We've never composted before. We didn't know what we were doing. So we went ahead and during construction added the water line. So that if at any point I said, no, this is a no-go, let's just put a water toilet in, we did not have to tear apart our walls and re-plumb for that. We just put it in right from the beginning. Same with washer-dryer connections. We don't have a washer and dryer, but we didn't know if in a year or two we might really want to have one. So we just went ahead and installed the washer-dryer connection so that it's good to go. And also, if we decided to sell the tiny house, and we're not planning on selling the tiny house, it's not going to happen, but if we sold it, then maybe the next person would want something like that in it. And because we didn't know what was coming in the future, we just went ahead and made sure that we were plumbed and wired for all those types of things. Please just take some of that kind of stuff into account, even if it's not something that you're planning to have to start the home with. Have the option to change it out later. Again, don't design all of your home before you move in. Don't say everything has its spot and this is where it's all going to go, because after living tiny for 3 years, we have moved stuff around. It either didn't fit our design process or we redesigned our space so that it would fit. Especially if you're dealing with, pieces of furniture that are doubling for other things, where you're going to have storage in the bottom of your couch or something like that. What might end up happening is it might not work. So instead of coming into your build design with this is how everything has to go, build the simpler stuff and then set the money aside and live in it for a while and hire out to a local contractor or a carpenter, or if you have the skills, then build it yourself, which is a lot of what John and I have done along the way. Is, oh, this doesn't work, we'll just tear it apart and build something else, because you can't plan for what's going to happen in life. And so realistically, having a design that is going to last for many, many years is going to be very hard. So build it simple. It is much, much easier to add something in than it is to tear something out. So just take your time when you're going through your design and thinking about how long you want to live in your tiny house, and keep it simple. As far as zoning, I really loved working with zoning over the past couple years, and 99% of the zoning officials I talk to are like, nah, no, we don't want to talk to you about it. But I like talking to them, because zoning officials are there to help us. Same as building officials, same as health department officials. These people work to ensure that we are safe. That's their goal. That's why the laws exist. That's why the codes exist. Zoning officials work to make sure that a whole area of a community is not infiltrated by somebody that's going to cause harm to agricultural land, or build a commercial structure right in the middle of a residential neighborhood that's going to disrupt children. There's a reason that these things exist. So they are truly there to help us. And they get a bad rap a lot of times, but I have to say, I've really enjoyed working with them. I find them to be very caring individuals. And when we talk to them and we explain what we're trying to do in the tiny house movement, we usually get, no, it's not in the building code, or no, it's not zoned properly. Sometimes we just get no's, and we don't know why. And so I encourage you to speak to your zoning official, and when they tell you no, ask for the reason. Why? One of the zoning officials that I spoke to told me that we didn't meet the minimum square footage requirement of this specific county. And I said, well, what is the minimum requirement? And he said 900 square feet. And I said, well, I was talking to other counties and they were telling me that the minimum square footage was 600 square feet. And he said, yeah, we don't go by the state building code. And I said, well, what are you citing your 900 square feet off of? And he said, the Virginia Construction Code, VCC. And I said, okay, so you're on the stricter side of this then, right? You're citing the stricter code. And I said, and who's in charge of the VCC? And he said, oh, the construction companies. And I said, aha, I said, so the construction companies are the ones that are pushing this specific code that have upped the square footage limit because they want to build bigger structures so they can make more money. And he said, yeah. And I laughed, and then he laughed, and then I went, okay, so what do you have to do to lower this limit or work on this code? Because obviously this code specifically is for profit for construction companies. And we talked for about an hour about the different things that might be able to be enacted or how we could work through those things. But we have to understand what we're up against, who's backing it, where it's coming from, for us to be able to make a change. So making a change means working with people. It means getting a group together. It means spreading out. It means making phone calls, collecting information, finding out when city councils meetings are going to happen, county meetings are going to happen, zoning meetings when are those going to happen, documenting those dates and that bit of information, and then contacting the county and saying, hey, I have a group of so many people and we are really interested in tiny houses and we want to come and present to the city council or the zoning official, whatever meeting you're going to, right? We would like to come as a group and present this to you as an affordable housing option, or as a way for your county to make money if it's a poorer county, or as a way to help, bring in younger people into our community because we need more people in our workforce here. Whatever the issue the county is facing can be addressed in some way through tiny houses. It just has to be presented in that light to them. So working together and getting a group like this is key to making changes in our areas. There's nothing being done on a worldwide scale. It's all being done through ordinances or possibly even variances depending on zoning and land usage. And while that's wonderful that we have certain places that will let us in, it's very hard for people to understand why 97% of the country still won't let us in. So it takes a lot of grassroots effort. It takes a lot of digging. It takes a lot of people asking why and not taking no for an answer. And when someone gives you a no, it takes you coming back and saying, why? Why is that a no? And what can we do to change it? And working with those officials. And I'm not saying every official is going to work with you. You might get some really hard and fast no's. Hang up the phone and call the next county over and start talking to them. And if that one doesn't work, call the next county over and start talking to them. Because eventually enough people are going to be calling that the county is going to go, look, we're spending how many hours of our day fielding phone calls about tiny houses. Maybe we need to address this. And then they'd be more willing on the next person, hey, why don't you come down and present? Why don't we have some really educated conversations about this and how we as tax-paying citizens in our community can make a difference to make it happen? And it is happening. It is happening just like that all across the U.S. So I encourage you to please work with groups, work with other tiny dwellers, work within your area so that we can move this forward faster, and I think it's coming faster. So there's a lot of hope on the horizon for affordable housing with tiny houses, especially dealing with zoning. So take your time, plan your home, plan your land, and live tiny. I hope you guys enjoy the presentations, and I hope that you got some great information out of this. Have a great day.